If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, we have Desmond Torres joining the program as he gets ready to take on Steve Garcia this coming Tuesday night on Dana White's Contender Series. How are you, Desmond?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you here, and as many folks watching this can tell you, I love the Contender Series. It's just great stuff, and you're getting ready for your shot at making an impression on Dana White and the matchmakers for your shot to make it to the UFC. How are you feeling as we're 6 days away from this one?
This is the most exciting opportunity I have. I've been dreaming about this day ever since I was 10 years old, writing about my career choices. So this is I'm beyond excited. This is my biggest shot. This is the biggest opportunity I have ever in my life, and I'm willing to make it the best opportunity I can.
So you had this dream of making it to the UFC when you were 10 years old?
Yes. Ever since I was in the fourth grade, and I found out about MMA as a sport. It's always been a dream just to go to the UFC. Actually, I always wanted to become the best fighter, and I always knew the best fighters were always in the UFC. So ever since I had the goal to start MMA, I always wanted to be in the best, and the best was the UFC.
How did you find the UFC at 10 years old? Was it a certain event, certain fight that kind of triggered this dream of yours?
Actually, my father was big into MMA. He was a big fan of fighting, and he actually started off watching Pride, having Pride videos, and eventually that led to the UFC. The UFC overruled Pride, and yeah. So ever since I was young, I remember my dad staying up late watching all the UFC events, and of course, I wanted to see what my dad was doing. My dad's a cool dude in my life, so definitely got into MMA. Found out about UFC all through him.
So I spoke to Steve yesterday, and he said he found out about the opportunity for this fight 3 weeks ago, and that you were his third different opponent. When did you get the call that you would be fighting on this card Tuesday night?
I found out about this last week. So the funny thing is that me and Steve, I used to know about Steve, and we actually trained together for a few, and it was funny because just like I said, my dad's a big fan of the sport. I'm a big fan of the sport. So actually, when I found out that Steve was on the Dana White Contender Series, I was actually kind of excited for him. I just didn't know that I was eventually going to be his opponent.
Is it kind of strange after training with him for about 6 months or so that you are fighting him, or did you expect that this day would happen at some point in your careers?
It is strange, but the amount of gyms that I've been to and the amount of people that I met, I figure someday I'll be running into a lot of people that I known or used to hang out with, or this or that. So I'm not that surprised, but I think it's a cool opportunity because at the end of the day, we're both winning.
Although it's not ideal to take a fight like this on such short notice, do you kind of prefer it in a way? Like it doesn't allow you to overthink anything. You can just go in there, fight, focus on what you need to do. Or do you prefer having a long camp heading into fights?
Honestly, what I believe in, I'm always in the gym, so short notice calls or long, having that time, to me, doesn't make a difference. I'm always in a fight camp, basically. I'm always sharpening every aspect of my game. But I believe in opportunities of a lifetime. They could come at any time. They could come in a 4 days notice. Joe Soto took a 3 days notice to fight TJ Dillashaw for the title. So opportunities like this come once in a lifetime. I find, and just when they come, you best be prepared. And I just thank God that I was always prepared for this. And when I took this call, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely ready. I've been in fight camps. I have other UFC fighters that are here at my gym, and I was helping them for their fight camp. So technically, it was like I was in a fight camp.
How do you feel about the matchup stylistically here between you and Steve? Like, I know there's some familiarity here with you guys training together, but, this sport and you fighters continue to evolve over time. Things always change. Do you have some surprises in store for Steve on Tuesday night?
I definitely grown. When I went to Jackson's back in the day, I was a 19-year-old turning 20 years old, just making my pro debut. I was green. I came from Virginia. There wasn't a lot coming from Virginia, so that was like the first major camp I went to. After that, moved to Team Oyama. Had a great coach like Colin Oyama, just basically make me the monster that I am today. My game has improved. If you look at from my second fight to my LFA fight, my last fight, you could tell it's a whole different guy. I believe Steve is a good fighter and everything, but I believe I changed a lot. I've grown a lot, and I wouldn't say I have any surprises. I think he knows what's coming, but you can't stop what's coming.
Besides your coach, who are some of the folks you've been working with to get you ready for this fight?
We have plenty of people, UFC fighters. Like I said, I've been working, on basically all the UFC fighters here got fights. So I've been working with like guys like Chito Vera, Marlon Chito Vera. I've been working with Alex Perez. He has a big fight coming up in Mexico City against Sergio Pettis. I've been working with Louis Smolka, big fight coming up in Vancouver. It's a lot of fights. It's a lot of UFC fighters. I'm surrounding myself with the top tier guys. I always had this mentality, like if it's a billionaire mentality, you hang around with 9 billionaires, you're going to be the 10th. If I hang around with a bunch of UFC fighters, eventually I'm going to be a UFC fighter.
I know that you're always in the gym, you're always training, you're always getting ready for that call to come. What is your weight at right now, if you don't mind me asking?
My weight's low. Just like I said, I was in a fight camp. I literally dropped a lot of weight. I'm walking around an easy 10 pounds or under away. Most people know about my record. I fought as a 25er before, so making this 35 cut honestly is a lot more easier. I believe it makes my performance a little bit better just because I'm not sitting there, dying. One thing I do know about Steve, and I remember about Steve when he was with Bellator, I know that 35-pound cut is hard for him. But you know what? I'm not letting that be my advantage on him because he might come in fresh still, no matter what. But I know that cut's hard for him. And I know that cut is, he has to focus every day on that cut. I'm over here just enjoying, I eat whatever I want. I'm just full focus on this fight. I'm dropping this weight like it ain't nothing, So the only thing that's been on my mind is just this fight. The weight cut isn't even on my mind, honestly. I'm going to sit in the sauna for like 30 seconds to make weight.
Are you a guy who watches the Contender Series every week?
I watch everything. I watch every promotion, PFL, Bellators. I watched the Contender last night. I actually have friends that were on the Contenders last night. I actually know so much people in this game that I most likely know a lot of people on the Contenders. So this was a long time coming. I know a lot of people's going to be watching out for me coming next Tuesday. But yeah, I'm definitely a fan of the Contenders, huge fan of the Contenders. I think it's a great opportunity. I always say it's the biggest job interview you can have.
Knowing what Dana White looks for, his criteria, if you will, does that change your approach at all? Or do you feel like it falls into place perfectly for this fight and what you're going to bring to it?
Oh, this is perfect. This is the perfect opportunity for me. If you go back and date and look at my records, I have a lot of finishes. I hate decisions. I hate going 15 minutes and everything. I will, and I can. I definitely can. I have finishes in the third, and I have 2 decision wins coming from that. So I could definitely go to the decision, but I'm always looking for the finish, and that's what Dana White loves. So you know what? This is the perfect opportunity for me. When I found out about this chance, I said, oh, this is a perfect game for me.
I'm not a big pot stirrer. That's not really my style, but I did talk to Steve yesterday and I was like, how do you feel like this fight's going to go down? And he said, it's all business. I have a lot of respect for Desmond Torres, but the way I see it is there's no other way but his head being stapled to the canvas and then me raining down blows upon him. That's how he sees the fight ending. How do you see the fight ending on Tuesday night against a former training partner in Steve Garcia?
To be honest, I think this fight goes anywhere. I think Steve has to say things like that just to build up confidence in himself. I think he does remember certain sparring sessions. He was never back in the day. If he wasn't catching me like that, I'm a whole different fighter now. I think Steve Garcia, I like the dude, honestly. And just like how you said, honestly, it's nothing but business. Steve was always a good dude to me. I was always cool with him and everything. But Tuesday night, it will be business. I see this fight ending. I don't know if it's going to end in a submission. I don't know if he's going to get dropped. But I definitely do see it ending.
You are 22 years old. You're coming into this fight with a 5-fight winning streak. You're just getting started here with your professional MMA career, which is scary considering the success you've had. But my favorite question to ask you guys and gals competing on the Contender Series, and you kind of touched on it being a dream since you were 10 years old, is, if all goes the way you expect it to on Tuesday night, when Dana White is talking to Laura Sanko and talks about your fight and says, Desmond Torres, that guy's a killer. He's what we're looking for. Welcome to the UFC, Desmond Torres. You're in. What is that all going to mean to you?
It's going to mean more than the world. Just like I said, ever since 10 years old, I had people, tell me I was dumb for fighting. I had people tell me, I was good in other things in life, that I should be chasing other things. So, breaking through everyone's disbelief and breaking through all that, and sticking to this dream, it means more to me, honestly, than anything. I sacrificed so much just to be here and just to have this opportunity. So, I don't know if you seen the Contender last night. Tony Gavley said, "Man, I'm speechless. Like, I just feel like that's gonna be me, honestly."
The Tyrant, Desmond Torres, joining the show as he prepares to face Steve Garcia on Tuesday night on Dana White's Contender Series. I know you got a lot going on, Desmond, so I appreciate you taking a few minutes with me. Before we wrap up, let the folks know where to find and follow you on social media. Any shout-outs, anything else you want to get off your chest? The floor is yours.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Facebook. Go to Desmond Torres. That's my fan page. And also you go to my Instagram, the Tyrant MMA.
Thank you, Desmond. All the best on Tuesday night in Las Vegas. Looking forward to this fight, man.
Thank you.